Welcome to the fastest stop in town. Today, we're Bava Kamadaf Tzadi. We're going to begin on Tzadik Amud Aleph, the second line from the top. Lema de Rava Tanoihi. Let's say this din of Rava is a machlokas Tanoim. Rava, as we just completed in yesterday's daf, discusses that when it comes to hektish, chametz, and shichur, it's mafkin midei shibud. So let's just focus on the third case, which is the primary point of our Gemara. That if you have a woman who brings in Nixim Maluk, specifically an Evet Kanaini, the question is, if she would hit him and knock out his tooth, in this situation, will he go free? Because when it comes to Nixim Maluk, she has rights to the land, which in this case is the Evet himself. The husband only has rights to the Peros. Now we're going to assume, first of all, that Kinyan Peros is Lav Kinyan Guf, that the husband doesn't have that same connection to the land, if you will, or to the Evet himself. So certainly the husband who hits an Evet is definitely not going to do anything as far as him going free, Evet Kanaini. The question is by the woman. So we say that actually, even after Tekanas Usha, it's possible, according to Rava, that since there is an obligation for hitting your Evet Kanaini and he goes free, even if there's a shibud that the husband has rights because of Tekanas Usha, namely, if she would sell her Nixim Malug, the din is that the husband is considered like the Loikech Rishon, he's like the first purchaser, which means he can eventually get it back. Now, that's true. However, when it comes to Shechor, this is one of the three times where we see that it's Mafkin Midi Shibud. But maybe that's not according to everyone. Lema de Ravik Tanoihi. Whoa, the Kuliyama Islu de Rabba. Really, everyone does hold of this. Vahacha al Muar Rabban Shibuda de Baal. The question is, how strong is this Takanas Usha? In other words, do we say that the shibud of the husband is so strong, and therefore it's able to remove this takana, Takanas Usha, will change this law, and therefore this shibud may not necessarily be like a typical shibud, in which shecher would be mafkin midi shibud. The Iboy say the kuliyama leisahu lohani tanoi Takanas Usha. Really, it doesn't hold like this. Vahacha bekinim Paris kikin guf kamifagi. Again, just push it. We can just say that whether or not the wife has a right to be able to sell it, the wife has a right or has the ability to free her Evet Kanani by hitting him and knocking out the tooth. If she did that, so it could be all totally on Paris is kinyan Paris kinyan aguf. Does the husband's kinyan of Peros, is it strong enough that it's kinyan aguf, and therefore by her hitting him, namely the Evet, that will not be enough for him to go free? So perhaps that's what it's talking about. Ubapukta dahani tanoi, and that machlokus is connected to the following: the sani hamoicher abdo, the person sells his eved la'achar to someone else. Upasak imo, and they made a condition almanas she shamshenu shloishim yoim. He says, but I want, I still need him for 30 days, but he's yours. But I just need 30 more days of service, and then afterwards, that's it. Ramer oimer. So the first person, the person who was the slave owner, the original one, there's a din of yomo yomayim, because he's still tachta, because he's yours for the next 30 days. Why? Because ksavar kinyan Paris can kinyan gofa dami, because he has at least kinyan Paris because he's still using him for his service for the next 30 days. He doesn't have kinyan gof because he sold the eved, but if you hold kinyan Paris kinyan aguf, therefore the din of Yomi Yomayim will apply to the first master. What is this talking about? So Rashi says as follows: Im he called b'toshloishim yoim. Hello. Let's say he got hit within these 30 days. V'lo meis tachas yado. He didn't die. El omad yomu yomayim chai. We have to evaluate a day or two to see if this person's gonna live. So we're not sure what the status is. Someone got hit. He didn't die right away. So we have to wait to see what will happen to this person. Enu nerag. So we say we will not kill that person. Ach im yomu yamayim b'gaymer. Avo sheni im hi kahu b'toshloshim yoyim. Hello, if the second master hit him, shohaya b'beis rishayin, he was still in the base rishayin because he was still working, doing the peros, if you will, the work for the next 30 days, and then the second guy hit him, so Einu B'din Yom Yomayim V'neheragula. We don't say there's a din of Yom Yomayim, and therefore because that he will be killed, because there's this leniency of Yom Yomayim that after waiting a day or two, then the din is that afterwards, if he dies later on, whatever, so you're not going to be killed. But that's only because he's your eved. Or if he's not your eved, so we say it doesn't matter, you're going to be killed. Even if he dies after 3 years, it doesn't matter, because if it's proved that you, the second master, hit him and it caused him illness for 3 years, and then only afterwards he died, but it was 100% was because of your hit 3 years ago, you will be sentenced to death for murder. Now, the Kinyan Peros, Shu Kinyan Lorishon, Kinyan Haguf Dami, Volav Deshenihu, which is interesting. Because the Kinyan Peros is so strong, namely the first master, so therefore the din of Yom Yomayim applies to him and not to the second guy, who only has a Kinyan Haguf, if you will. Therefore, the din of Yom Yomayim will only apply to the first master and not to the second if you hold Kinyan Peros as Kinyan Haguf. Back in the Gemara. Rabbi Yehuda Omer Sheni Yash B'dino Yom Yomayim. It's the second master. And Nishahu Kasma. He's your money. He's yours. You own him. He's your karka, if you will. And therefore, for that reason, we don't care that it's the person who has peros. That's nothing. We look at the person who actually owns the eved. Therefore, you're considered the halachic master, and the din of Yom Yomayim applies to you, the second master. Fine. Rabbi Yossi Omer Shneim Yesh B'dinu Yom Yomayim. Actually, both of them will have this leniency. Zem Imnei Shehu Tachtav. One because the first master, he's still by you. Zem Imnei Shehu Kaspa. And the second one is because the second master actually is the owner. Why? Because Masafkale Kinyan Paris Iki Kinyan Gof Dami Ilav Ki Kinyan Gof Dami. But something else Hakil. So because we don't know what to do, we're not going to sentence you to death because we don't know what the halacha is. Rabbi Eliezer Omer Shneim Einam B'din Yom Yomayim. These are always the best machlokes, in where it's yes completely, no completely, one A yes, B no, B yes, A no. So you can't make a mistake, right? You have to obviously understand the svara. But this is the most interesting of the four. So what does he say? That both of them, Shneim Einam B'din Yom Yomayim, they're both not. In order for you to be under the category of Yom Yomayim, you must own him, and it must also be Tachtav. And therefore, since both of these masters are lacking one element, therefore there's no din of Yom Yomayim by them, and therefore they will be killed. So Omer Rabba, my time to Rabbi Eliezer. Why does Rabbi Eliezer say this, which is an unbelievable chumrah? So Omer Kor, because he has a pasuk. You have to have a pasuk, because again, we're killing someone here. It's not a joke. So Ki Kaspahu, Kasbaham Yuchadloi. It says Ki Kasbahu, which means it has to be Kesef, which is Miyuchad, which is specific to one person, and it can't be he's split between two people. Who is this statement like? When it comes to a man or woman who sells the Nixim Alug, lo asavlo klum. It's nothing. It's not a good sale. Come on. Sounds like Rabbi Eliezer, because why? The husband has rights to the paros. The wife has rights to the karka. So therefore, because neither of them have full rights to it, and therefore it's not a mechira. Man tanul hada tanurban. Who's the tanul of the following? Let's say you have a situation where you have someone who's half slave and half free, which is typically the case of a shutaf. You have partners, and one of them freed his chelek. So v'chein eved shel shtei shutvin. Again, basically what I just said. Ein yotzim b'rashi avarim shenu chayzin. So he will not go free by rashi avarim shenu chayzin. So what is Rashi Avarim, which is brought down interestingly on Daf Chaf Dalad in Masechtas Kedushin, is the Chaf Dalad Hain. There's 24 limbs. Sha'eved Yosef Behen L'cheres Beperk the Kedushin says Chaf Hayamadal. It's also Chaf Dalad. Amarle Rav Mordechai Rav Ashi Hachi Amar Mishmei De Rava Rabbi Eliezer He. L'chera, it must be like Rabbi Eliezer again, who holds the same notion that these people who are in this quasi status, he doesn't have a master who's miyuchid to him, so therefore there will be no din of shin v'ayin. Milo Amar Belezer kasma miyuchid lo hachanami avdo hamiyuchid lo. It has to be an eved which is miyuchid to you, and therefore in this situation it's not. Okay. Question 4. Well, Mandi Amar Kinyan Paris Kinyan Haguf Dami. that if you have an ownership of Paros, that you have a link to the land too, or the Eved, will, if a man hit the Eved, will he go free? So he says, Ein yotzim mishen v'ayin. So even, which is not so clear, but according to what Dirshu is saying, that when it comes, even if you had the husband, he's still not going to go free. L'chol days. That's obviously machlokas. And it says over here, Yishim Bedino Yomu Yomayim. I hear. Because if you hold, let's just see this, that if you hold Kinyan Paris is Kinyan Paris is Kinyan Haguf, let's get this down. If you hold Kinyan Paros is Kinyan Haguf, therefore the first guy is going to have the din of Yomu Yomayim. So therefore that is the din. So therefore in that situation Hitaka will there is a din of Yom Yomayim for the first guy, for the first master. That's what it's referring to. But for the husband, as we saw before, there's no Shiloh. Everyone says, no matter all the different possible answers over here on the previous Talmud, the husband doesn't have the Eved Kanani go free. Even if you hold King Paris as Kinyan Guf. The whole question is, how about the woman who owns the actual Eved? Okay. Let's keep going. Says, let's see the next Mishnah. Says the Masnisin, if you blow into someone's ear, and obviously this is blowing not just with a little bit of wind, this is like blowing a massive horn into someone's face. So nice little sella. So you have to pay him because of boishas, says Rashi. You should pay the amount which is a mana. Satrai, if you slap him on the face, on the jaw, you have to pay 200. If you hit the backhand, not slapping this way, but slapping back way, which is, I guess, even worse in a certain way. It's like more embarrassing, hitting someone like that. So again, you have to pay 400. Saram ba'oznai, if you pull someone by the ear, mashach, Rashi says, or tolish b'tzaro, you detach his hair, rakak, you spit, and it reaches his proximity, hever taliso memenu, or you remove a garment from what he's wearing, para roisha isha, bashuk, or you remove a woman's shaitel in the marketplace, nice little arbamia zuz, and you have to give 400 zuz as we continue Sadia Medbei. This is the general rule. Hakol fi kavod. It's all in accordance to the honor that a person can feel, so we can go lenient or strict regarding that. Or maybe keep enough. We look at every single yid the same, that they're considered to be chashiv yidin. We're all chashiv because we're connected with great yichus, so therefore you're going to be paying a significant amount of money. There's a story. He actually removed the woman's head covering in the marketplace. He had to pay the full maximum amount of 400 zuz. Armalo Rebbe, tain li zman, give me some time. V'nasla, then I'll pay it. V'nasla zman, and give him time. Shamra, so he waited. They waited. They were waiting by the opening of her courtyard. The shavar sakad b'fanah, and he broke a jug in front of her. Uboy ki iser shemen, and there it was a certain measurement of oil. So giltes roisha, she was so impressed because oil was so hard to come by. She quickly took off her head covering. Vaisa mitapachas manachas yada al roisha. She started rubbing it into her hair and enjoying all the beautiful oil. So v'hamidul edim, and he had witnesses to show that this is what she was doing. So he's basically saying, what's the big deal? So she wore a head covering once in her entire life. So I took off her baseball cap. She doesn't care about having her hair uncovered. So why is it a busha that I took off her head covering? We see clearly she does it all the time, right? Zuvol if Rabbi Kiva Amalei Lazuani nice and Dalme Zuz. I have to give 400 Zuz for this? What's the big deal? Well, it doesn't make sense. I shouldn't have to. Amalei Lomar Takum, you said nothing. If you hit yourself, you're not to hurt yourself. Putter. Who are you going to pay? No one's going to pay you, right? So if she did something wrong herself, that's on her. But if others hurt you, then you have to pay. Fine. If you chop down trees, when you decide to chop down your own trees, Rashi says in Tiyabashana, there's a din of shtei kesef. There's a financial obligation that's brought down in Perka Kainis, which we saw previously on Daf Nun Chesam and Beis. Do you remember that? I'm not sure if I do. Says the Gemara, I boilahu manatsuri tanan o mana medina tanan. This is brought down in Kedushin and elsewhere. How much do you have to pay when we're talking about this amount? So it's a significant difference because a manatsuri, Rashi says, is chav hey slayim, 25 slayim, it's 100 zuz. Or is it Manish Medina, which is Shminis, Shibamana Suri, only an eighth? So that's a big difference. What are we talking about? What kind of money? So Tashma, Dahu Gavra, the Takale Lachavre, he blew into this guy's ear. Oscar Rabbi Yehuda, Nasiya. So they went in front of Rabbi Yehuda, Nasiya to Paskin. Armalei, Ha Na, Ha Rabbi Yosef Glili. Havli Manat Suri. Shema Mana, Manat Suri. So the din is you have to give the larger amount, which is Manat Suri. Shema mina manit suri tanat. Shema mina. So my ha na harav yosigli. What does that statement mean? Ilay mahakakamele. This is what he was saying. Ha na dechazitech. I saw. It was I that I saw you do this. The harav yosigli with the amar manasuri, and he's the one who paskin that the amount that you have to pay is based on manatsuri. Zil havle manatsuri. So if that's the case, remember the aid nasadayin. It sounds like I saw, so I'm a witness, and I'm also a judge. Is that true? That an aid is also allowed to be a dayan v'sanya? We know that's not true because we see in the following case, Sanhedrin shura echad shargas hanefesh. You have a Sanhedrin that saw a murder. Miksasan nasu aid, miksasan nasu dayanim. They Rav Tarfon. So they say, you know what? There's a huge amount of people here, so some of you should be witnesses, and the rest will be judges. But you're not going to have both doing both jobs. Just some of you will testify, and the others, even though you saw, but you're not going to act as an aid, you'll be a dayan. No, they're all witnesses. They an aid, not a dayan. So Adkan will come Rav Tarfon, Elvin, Miksasa, Naso, Adim, Miksasa, Naso, Dayanim. The only possible scenario is that you split it. Even Rav Tarfon doesn't hold you could do this. So how is it possible that when we're saying this case, and he says, I saw this testimony, so then how could you be also giving this verdict? Ein nasa dayan. Whereas says Kitanya, he could go in Shiroba Laila. We're talking about where he saw at night. Ninhu, says Rashi. And then the next day when they came to judge, Ein Danin LLP Shemua. The whole judging is based on hearsay. That's why some of them needed to testify. V'imein sham el gimel, there was only 3. They would have to have others to testify. But if this case of this whole Sanhedrin that saw this murder happen during the day, then it would work. Rav Tarfon miad. Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi Rav Tarfon Sfirle, that you would be able to do it immediately. It's only because it happened at night. Okay. So the Ibois Ema Hachi Karmele, Ha Nadis Sfirle Rabbi Yosef Glili, the Omer Manatsuri. I hold like Rabbi Yosef Glili, the Ha Sahadi de Mesahadi Bach Zil Havle Manatsuri. And there were 2 other witnesses. I'm not one of them, right? And you have to pay Manatsuri. So therefore, the whole question doesn't start because I wasn't one of the witnesses. So you're at Ein Nasa Dayan. The Sabar Bekiva the Ein Nasa Dayan. Is that true? That he holds you can't do this. Well, Sanya, the pasuk says in Shemos, V'hika ishes re'ehu be'evno be'egrov, that if you hit your friend with either a stone or a fist. So Shimon Atiminu Emi Ma'egrov, just like when we're dealing with a fist, Meyuchid Shemasol Edel. Edim, it's something which is miyuchad that can be given over to witnesses and to be testified. Says Rashi, shiachol haviu lebeistin umdai, that you can bring your fist to the beistin. They can see, are you Mike Tyson? Are you some Arnold Schwarzenegger strong guy? Im roy egroiv zel lasos chavolazu. to be able to evaluate, is this guy strong enough that his punch would be able to have done such damage? If you say this is a guy's a weakling, you hit him, oh, what do you mean? You see he's all completely destroyed. It's probably because the guy was already sick, and therefore you don't have to pay as much. So we evaluate the person's fist. So afkol shemasal edel edim. So too, when it comes to all weapons and all these different things, we have to assess them to see if they were shaykh to actually cause this damage. Prat was sheyatsa matachas yad ha'edim. If the weapon, let's say, was lost, if there's no weapon to be found, so therefore they have the impossibility to be able to properly evaluate it. It says Rashi, based in Lura Uha, the Basin didn't see this. Alvavi Sharua Edim, Potter to be in an Umdun Bebasin. Has to be an Umdun Bebasin. Omer Bikiba Chim Emne based in Hikahu, Shiyoidin Kam Hikahu was the basin wasn't there during the incident to be able to see how many times he hit. Okay, my fist isn't so strong to be able to hit you and you have so many bruises, but what if I hit you 3,000 times? Maybe that would do it. Yalmahi Ko, and on what he hit, Im al Shaiko, al Sipar Nafshai, did he hit him on the calf, or on the cartilage? If you push someone off of a roof, or Marosha Bira off again top place, Umace based in Hoichan Eitzel Bira or Bira Hilechas Eitzel based in. So understand the weapon is me just giving someone a little shove off an Empire State Building. You don't bring the building to the basin, right? So the whole thing doesn't make sense. But furthermore, what if the tower falls down? Do we have to actually rebuild it to be able to assess how tall it was? No. This is how we learn. Ma egroif, just like a fist. Miyuchachu muscle edim. Yeah, it's brought to the witnesses because you're the person who's potentially the murderer or the person who injured. Avkolshu muscle edim. Prat lokashiyatsa evan matachas yado shomaka potter. It's only something which can be master to Adam, excluding when you throw a rock, a metachas yado shomaka. That in that situation you're potter. Says Rashi Kolemer shenevad miad. If it got lost immediately, v'lo Adam. If the witnesses didn't even see it, that's what it's talking about. It has to be something that is at least somewhat was seen, at least at the time of the actual death, the murder, the hit. So at least the witnesses have to have seen it themselves. Not that the basin actually should have to see it. But Katani is, nonetheless, we learned, Rabbi Kiva v'chemene basin hiko. Is it in front of the basin that he got hit? Shiyodim kam hiko, which is mashma. Ha hiko bifneim. If Taka did happen in front of them, ein asadayin. It sounds like he would hold ein asadayin. No. He doesn't hold like that. He's just saying, according to your logic, perhaps you should say this, but I don't hold like it. Okay, we're going to stop there. Question 5. How's the stone like the fist? So either Shimon HaTimoni says that you actually need, just like the fist, that you have to evaluate to see if this weapon had the capacity to be able to damage as it did, excludes if, let's say, it got lost from the witnesses. Rabbi Kiva says that you need to be moister le'edim ke'egroif lafuki nevda evan miyad hamake do amdu klal, in a situation where it's not evaluated at all. So the question is, if the stone, whatever it is, the witnesses never saw it, then for sure that's not good. That's going to be, the case will be basically thrown out, and that's actually will be potter. The question is, the witnesses did see, do we require the basin to also do an evaluation? Okay, question TA 18. Sanhedrin shuro be'echad shehorges hanefesh. Him nasim dayanim l'madir ein nasim dayin. So can that work? So on this, baru bayoim, if it was seen during the day, nasim dayanim, then it does work. Baru balayla mixasim nasim edim mixasim dayanim. So again, that is the first answer that we gave. Of going sharoho balayla deloy l'mevet dina ninhu. So that certainly you would require dayanim. However, if it took place during the day, as we saw in Rashi, Sharab Alayla Macharis Shaboim Ladun ain't done in Elapim Shmua. However, Aval Rabbi Yoim Oisin Alpi Hariya. Or Rab Tarfin, again, you can split it up. Okay. Question TB 19. V'hika ishes re'ehu be'evan o be'egrov. Man nilmad midelfin and evan do egrov. So this, of course, is the same thing as question 5. TB 19. And let's see what I wrote. Oh, Shahabastin gam sarach liros es ha'evan, the weapon. The sarach lasos umdana, evaluation. Ima evan yochel lahamas. Rak ha'edim sarach liros es ha'evan, the weapon. B'shas misa, v'lo habastin. Okay, that sounds pretty good. Rabbi Gibber. Ma'u tamas shel mandi arm desfirule ma'moicher avdol acher if you sell your evan to someone else. Uposik imo almanashi yeshenu shloshim yom. You have 30 days. The shneim yishnu b'din yom yomayim. Why would they both have a din of yom yomayim? So let's see. I get this half right. One, because he was working for him right now. The second, because he was already bought with him the money. I don't know why it's half right. I just don't understand that. But I guess maybe he wants to talk about Kinyan Paris and Kinyan Guf, but that sounds exactly correct. You mark that half right. I'd like to know why. Lama ein lehevi rayim Rav Tarfin. I'm not going to ask him. This was 35 years ago, but it's a good question. Lama ein lehevi rayim Rav Tarfin. Why don't we bring a proof? Sanhedrin shra echad shargas and nefesh. They split it up, half for dayanim, half for edim. Why don't we see from here the ein nasa dayan? Since the Sanhedrin saw it at night, so only here where you need to wait until the next day, they need edim. But if they saw it in the day, then maybe the aid could be a dayan. Lafi Rav Shimon hatimoini. Mama matinin mahadi iskus evla egroif. Mama matinin refi Rabbi Kiva. This is what I wrote. Just like the first is presented, just like the fist. I wrote, it sounds like first. Just like the fist is presented before Beis Din, so they can see if it could have done the damage, so too any weapon must be presented before Beis Din, excluding a case where they lost the weapon. Just like the fist is some Adim see only at the time of the murder, so to anything the Adim could see. And that's the end of that test. Adkan.